Welcome back. Dis-Chem Pharmacies benefited from acquisitions of new drugstores and stronger demand for the medicines after the easing of COVID-19 lockdowns. And as a result, the group's revenue exceeded 300 billion for the first time in its history, although it did warn that the consumer environment remains constrained. Nastassia Arendse did speak to Rui Morais.
One of the highlights was obviously our ambition to pass 30 billion rands worth of revenue. So first time the group has done that. It was off the back of a very strong sales number. That was really as a function of both really good organic growth and some of the benefits that we saw through our acquisitions. So in summary, that would probably be the biggest highlight. It also was a year where we saw our group being the biggest by dispensary market share, and if you think about the core of our group being a retail pharmacy and dispensary service, that was a highlight for us as well.
When you look at the retail trading performance, what sort of trends are you picking up there, especially when it comes to the market share and some of the core drivers for that?
Sure. So we continue to gain share across all of our markets. A function of that being the fact that we continue to grow our network. And in terms of trading patterns, we have seen an element of normalization post-COVID. And that to us means a couple of things. It means mix. So we're starting to see the higher growth of beauty, for example, which was a category that was shopped downwards during the COVID period. We're also starting to see more frequent engagement from our customers in our mall stores. There was initially when consumers were geographically contained, there was certainly foot traffic towards the more convenient centres. There's some sort of normalisation there. And I suppose the last thing is we're starting to see the consumers engage with us more frequently. So, slightly smaller baskets and more engagement more frequently.
Speaking of consumers, one of the aspects that you mentioned, in your results presentation is that we are likely to see a constrained consumer. With that background of, inflation worries, what does that mean for DisChem, and what does it mean from a pricing perspective when it comes to some of the products within the store?
Sure. So, we are definitely entering into an inflationary environment. I think from our perspective, if you think about the contributions to our business, largely the dispensary is regulated in terms of the gazetted single exit price. That's around 35 to 40% contribution to our business. And then in some of the front shop categories, so if you think about our categories, personal care, healthcare, where we compete with general supermarkets, there's a resilience to that. If you think about, what people consume on a monthly basis, but at the same time, we're starting to see pricing increases from our suppliers, and it does unlock opportunities for people to take share. So I would imagine you'll start to see, and we will have to match on price, but you'll certainly start to see people invest in price to gain access to share in those what are relatively resilient categories. But on a whole, we do definitely see a more value-conscious consumers. That there is no doubt.
What are you seeing in terms of the appetite for your DisChem medical insurance? What has the feedback been from the public?
So it's obviously an important area of investment for us. At the back end of last calendar year, we acquired Kaelo, which is effectively the best-in-class medical insurance asset. And we've rebranded it with the DisChem brand, which we think from a consumer perspective holds a huge amount of credibility. And over time, we will introduce value-based or value-added products to that to further differentiate it from other products in the market. But I think ultimately, as much as it's an opportunity for us, it's also something that South Africa needs. If you think about how many employed, uninsured people there are who have to consume healthcare on a cash basis or are reliant on the state, it's well known, that the infrastructure is under pressure from a state perspective. It's a vital market to grow. So, we encourage any sort of competition in that space. We do believe we can differentiate ourselves away from competitors, as we've done in the retail pharmacy space. And we will we look forward to seeing how it evolves.
What does the capital allocation strategy look like right now? Where are you seeing opportunities for growth?
So it would be very centered around organic network growth. Obviously, Medicare, which was the independent pharmacy acquisition we made last year, which gave us access to another 50 sites. It was a big allocation of capital. But as we look forward, it's certainly the opportunity remains to continue to open up space. So that's certainly capital allocation that's required. And on top of that, there's a rebranding exercise. So those 50 Medicare stores will be rebranded into DisChems. And, in doing that, we extend our network, and that will continue to be the capital allocation policy of the group. We will look to grow our asset base or our store base. Together with that, at some stage, we'll have to increase our distribution capacity, to be able to service the larger growing retail base. So relatively simple, but, the opportunity for us is to grow our share in what remains a market that is consolidating.
Before I let you go, are you actively looking for new assets, or is it right now all about just, getting more out of the existing ones?
Sure. So we're never not looking for assets. I mean, if the opportunity presents itself, we'll look at it closely. But I think this year certainly is a year of bedding down the acquisitions we made. They all landed at a very similar time, not by design. It was quite a challenging landscape to have to navigate. And now it's really about integrating them into our group, unlocking the return that we saw with them. But like I said, if the opportunity presents itself, we're quite an entrepreneurial group. We definitely have to have a look at them.